Breaking news in the last hour, the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, is expected to give a statement to MPs this afternoon on the crisis that's now engulfing the BBC.
President Trump threatening to sue the corporation for $1 billion over a misleading edit of a speech he made back in 2021, which was broadcast last year just before the US presidential election. Joining us now, Local Government Minister Alison McGovern. Very good morning to you. It's not what you were expecting to talk about this morning, but as you know, it is in the ether, and the impartiality of our national broadcaster, for which everyone pays the licence fee, is so important. Our political editor, Robert Peston, says this morning that the legal advice to the BBC, he's told, is that President Trump was not meaningfully damaged by Panorama's manipulation of his 6th of January speech, and there is no legal necessity to pay him compensation. BBC board is likely to resist and fight his demand and will risk him carrying through on his threat to seek $1 billion in damages by going to court. It's a pretty unseemly row, isn't it? As the government minister in charge this morning, what do you make of it? Should they pay up or fight?
Well, I think if there have been editorial errors at the BBC, and obviously, Susanna, I've just seen what everybody else has seen about this issue, is that there seems to have been some mistakes made editorially. I'm sure the BBC is chock full of policies on what happens if somebody complains, and if they need to apologise, then fine. I think the BBC is one of our most trusted media organisations in the UK, and we want it to be that way. You know, my constituents in Birkenhead want to see stories about their local area and what's going on around the world, and they want the BBC to do that well. So I think the answer to this is to get whatever the editorial problems are dealt with, get good quality journalism and sort it out. And that's like the way to keep...
Sounds like you don't think there's any merit in his claim, the President of the United States' claim against the BBC.
Honestly, I've got no idea. I am neither a lawyer nor, you know, am I his representative. So that's not one for me. But what I think is that my constituents depend on the BBC and yourselves at ITV and Channel 4 and all of our public service broadcasters who are doing their best to tell the story of what's going on in our country. Right. That's what people want, and please can we have good quality journalism. I won't always like the questions that journalists ask me, but that's right, and that's what my constituents want to happen, so let's make it good.
Well, before we move on from this, just one more question at least. You must have seen the BBC chairman's statement yesterday, his apology of sorts for this disastrous Panorama programme that went out last year. He referred to it, this edit, as an error of judgment in his apology. Many others, including seasoned BBC journalists, both past and present, say no, it was deliberate deception. What was your reading of the chairman's statement yesterday? Did he go far enough? Does he get it?
I don't think that I am the person to be judge and jury over that. I think the Select Committee independently of government will look at that and provide scrutiny, which is a good thing. I think, Richard, you've broken the news just now that Lisa Nandy, my colleague, the Culture Secretary, will address MPs later, and people will ask lots of questions about it. And I'm sure there'll be much scrutiny, as there always rightly is, over the BBC, given, you know, that we all pay the licence fee and so on. But I think what we need is what I was saying before, which is to say, if there's a problem, deal with it. Let's not have a big drama about it. Let's just crack on, deal with issues as they are and focus on good quality journalism.
The Office for National Statistics says that the UK unemployment rate for people aged 16 years and over, estimated at 5% in July to September this year. It's up from 4.8% on the 3 months to August. So unemployment is going up. We understand from all sorts of leaks all around the place that in a couple of weeks the Chancellor is going to put tax up as well. What's going wrong with the economy on your watch?
Well, we've had a lot of global turbulence, as you know. I think that I am particularly worried about young people and some of the consequences post-pandemic of the situations they face. If you look at the rates of ill health, particularly mental ill health that we're seeing in younger people, I don't think that's right. And my biggest worry with unemployment specifically is where we've got young people who are leaving school or college and who are not going straight into a job. And that's why the right response to that is the youth guarantee that we've set out, and to continue with our work to make sure that people are healthier and that we change the social security system so it supports people into work and doesn't throw people on the scrap heap. You know, we had this big problem in the post-pandemic of economic inactivity where people are not even looking for a job. That has stabilised, but we need to make sure that young people in particular are guaranteed a job and that we make sure that nobody starts their working life on the scrap heap.
Yes, there has to be a job for them to look for, doesn't there? And these figures indicate that they're slipping away. One more problem you've got this week, what's called the Channel Hokey Cokey, the one in, one out. It's still not working. Another one's come back, having been sent back to France, jumped on another rubber boat, and was picked up when he landed back in Britain.
Well, the fact that we know about this shows that our security system is picking this person up, and the fact that you and I are talking about it means that people will hear that this person's been discovered, and that will send the right message to people that we are investing in our border force and that we will deport people if they have no right to be here. You know, as a nation, we uphold our responsibility for those people who are fleeing war, as you know, we try to do for those people in Afghanistan or in other places. But that does mean if people have no right to be here, that they have to leave. And that's why we've deported 350,000 people since we came into government.
Yeah, and the scheme that you've set up seems to just be a sort of piece of elastic band in at least two cases. Can I ask about what you're actually here to talk about, which is that you are the Minister for Local Government.
I am.
You want to strengthen local government, strengthen standards. There's going to be more powers to suspend councillors and mayors for serious misconduct for up to 6 months. Meanwhile, what's emerging is that Housing Secretary Stephen Reid said British councillors should not be allowed to stand for election in another country after it was revealed that at least 2 had launched campaigns to stand in Bangladesh. I'm absolutely astonished about this. A Labour councillor who's defected to a different party last year apparently has announced she's standing for the Bangladesh National Party in polls in February, and an independent councillor in Poplar in East London also campaigning to be a Bangladesh National Party. How are councillors here allowed to stand in elections in a completely different country?
Yeah, it's totally not acceptable. And as you said, our Secretary of State, Steve Reid, has written to Tower Hamlets. It's part of a picture where in 2011, the old rules that used to make sure that there was consequences for councillors if they didn't uphold standards were swept away. And since then, we've seen various issues, the one that you mentioned, and also, unfortunately, some quite serious offences that councillors have been charged with or convicted with. And councils just don't have the power to take steps to suspend them, to stop paying them money, and that's got to change.
So would you, under your rules, would these 2 councillors be suspended? Is it currently OK for councillors who are supposed to be doing a job here? Well, OK. Is it currently legal for them to be standing elsewhere?
I think the problem is that councils lack teeth to do anything about it if there are clear standards breaches like the ones that you mentioned. They don't have the power to suspend or further consequences to make sure that councillors are disqualified or whatever. We're going to bring forward legislation to do that. It should have been in place, I think, all of this time, but the Localism Act, you know, more than a decade ago, got rid of it. So this is putting back what should be there already. We know that of the 17,000 councillors out there, the vast majority of them are really fantastic public servants.
Not all councillors. OK, brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Alison McGovern, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.